A young man wearing an overcoat boards a crowded city bus. Beneath his coat is a bomb packed with nails, ball bearings, and rat poison. He takes a seat and waits for the bus to fill with innocent shoppers and commuters before pressing the detonator. Analyzing the raw facts of the explosion, the data remains silent. We cannot know his wealth, education, or mental health. Yet the specific nature of this act, trading this life for paradise, renders his religious affiliation the only predictable factor. In his own community, his parents feel profound pride, celebrating his sacrifice as a secured passage to heaven. This event represents the successful, mechanical execution of a specific metaphysical proposition, overriding the variables of economic status or psychological health. Modern societal norms condition us to treat religious belief as a private, untouchable right that exists beyond the scope of rational critique. But beliefs function as cognitive levers. Once polled, they dictate a person's vision of the world and their emotional responses to others. This is the epistemic action link. Genuinely believing you just won a massive lottery instantly rewires your desires, your fears, and your physical behaviors. On a macro scale, the ideas that divide and unite humanity in mass slaughter almost exclusively have religious roots. Because the core tenet of every major faith is that rival systems are repositories of error, genuine tolerance is intellectually impossible for a true believer. Treating religious beliefs as immune to evidence grants structural cover to ideas that make catastrophic actions perfectly logical. For a human brain to function in reality, its beliefs must logically cohere to guide physical behavior. A breakdown in this coherence creates an immediate paradox, as seen in the American Embassy in Paris case study. In one context, travelers in post-9/11 Paris categorized the American Embassy as a prime terrorist target to be avoided at all costs. In a second context, those same travelers eagerly book a hotel room because it offers a peaceful view of the American Embassy. They spent an entire day simultaneously trying to avoid and gain proximity to the exact same coordinate in physical space. The moment they realize both contexts refer to the same building, the cognitive partition collapses, forcing them to align their actions. Human identity and rational behavior require logical consistency. Harboring mutually incompatible beliefs paralyzes our ability to act in the world. Because beliefs dictate our actions in the physical world, they must be causally linked to actual states of the world. This causal link is what we call evidence. Wishing for a massive diamond buried in your backyard might feel incredibly comforting. However, this wish lacks the causal connection between the physical dirt and the mental state required for it to be an epistemic belief. Saying, "I believe in God because it makes me feel good," is epistemologically identical to that diamond wish. True belief requires the proposition itself to be the cause of the belief. We believe a bridge will hold because of engineering data, not because of a hope that it holds. Religious claims like "God hears prayers" purport to describe an actual state of reality.
If religious claims purport to describe the architecture of reality, they are bound by the same evidentiary rules that govern every other type of human knowledge. This creates an epistemological black hole, a societal blind spot where the demand for evidence is entirely suspended. We call this deliberate suspension of evidence faith. The architects of the 9/11 attacks were not cowards, they were not impoverished, and they were not uneducated. Osama bin Laden acted with terrifying rationality once the unevidenced premise of martyrdom is accepted as true. Modern societies often struggle to comprehend these acts because we fail to recognize that the hijackers actually believed their own doctrine. Categorizing these acts as terrorism often obscures the reality that they function as the logical output of perfect religious faith. Faith is a cognitive mechanism that makes unimaginable brutality appear completely logical to the believer. The dominant political assumption of our era holds that religious extremism is the disease and religious moderation is the cure. In reality, moderation is a product of secular knowledge. Moderates simply ignore the literal barbarism in their holy texts to assimilate into modernity. When acted upon literally, seemingly trivial dogmas regarding women's clothing routinely result in mass violence. Religious moderates enforce a cultural taboo against criticizing faith,
Demanding respect for unjustified beliefs. By demanding respect for the idea of faith, moderates construct an intellectual shield that protects fundamentalists from rational criticism. Religious moderation inadvertently provides the structural cover and ideological immunity necessary for extremism to thrive. We must now ask what happens when mutually exclusive, unevidenced dogmas are forced to share limited resources on a finite planet. On the India-Pakistan border, two nations remain ready to annihilate each other over incompatible myths regarding sacred land. Our destructive technology has advanced exponentially, yet our religious epistemology has remained static since the Iron Age. Maintaining a theology of martyrdom is suicidal in an era where a single clandestine act can render a modern city uninhabitable. Our political systems often require leaders to master ancient myths rather than the global sciences needed to govern a superpower. Two groups with mutually exclusive, untestable dogmas can only endure unending cycles of ceasefire and murder. The survival of human civilization is mathematically incompatible with the continued pairing of Iron Age epistemology and 21st century weapons of mass destruction. The only viable path forward involves a willingness to have our beliefs modified by new, verifiable facts. Unlike religion, fields like physics, engineering, and medicine possess a universal standard of discourse that transcends national and ethnic boundaries. Claims about God, the soul, and the afterlife must be stripped of their taboo status and subjected to this same standard of rigorous, open inquiry. Holding a belief without evidence must be viewed as a profound intellectual disgrace. The demand for evidence represents the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for the future of reason and the survival of our species.